wanna pay for repairs,
Yeah.
Right.
upkeep to the building.
Well, the other thing too is, and
But
this-
cable is not a building expense.
No, I know, but,
You know, that's what I'm saying, when we look forward as to what we're gonna budget and what we're gonna do,
well, the reality of it is now,
well, this year it is.
yeah.
But just, we need to understand, this is where the mindset is, again, when you look at those A-line items, the village has been overpaying for years.
Well, look, you know, Mayor, the seniors last year were in force coming here to the village for asking for support for that. Equally, the seniors should be in force going to the town, asking for support from the town. It's the same issue.
Fran is gonna lead that fight.
And
She's already-
you're right, they came to the village, because we applied for a grant for it, we
Right.
got the grant money, so they had to come to us, because
Sure,
we were trying to
sure.
open it up.
And you responded.
Going forward, though, I'm looking at just the major things that we need to keep the building up and running is our costs. And cable, electric, oil, insurance, those types of things. Repairs from problems, and these are things we gotta incur this year on this building. I mean, we don't have.
Well, let's-
Building maintenance, what you're saying.
All right,
Yeah.
let's make sure we are clear as to what we're paying for. When we discuss it, gas, oil is one thing. Cable, phone, all that's not building.
No,
That is program, that is
Right.
senior program. We don't need a phone in there unless there's a senior program in there. You don't need cable in there unless there's a senior program in there. We need to heat the building so it doesn't freeze. We need to clean the building so it's clean. We need to decide what's actually building. And I'm not saying we're not gonna fund the senior programming side, but we need to be clear about it so that when we go to the town, these are the costs for
Yeah.
senior programming. We, again, it's like the historian, we will continue to pay, as of right now, we will continue to pay for the upkeep of the building, which technically we shouldn't.
well, for now, though, reality is.
And I have no
Yeah.
problem, well, they're never gonna take over everything.
Yeah, but.
So if they will help us by upping their senior programming,
Right.
whatever they can, and then whatever they fall short, we have to take care of. I think if we did 20, cut it down to 15, depending on the cap.
Well, you know, here's my other
I think
thing.
that's
fair.
Is senior meals gonna move to the senior center?
Probably not, and they.
Why not? I don't
They were
get that.
told, by the state guy and several other people, it's not, only one group in the county does that, because they have an out-of-control kitchen. They said a lot of places keep their meals at a separate place, because you're up to a lot more scrutiny, and you have to put a lot more money in your kitchen to make sure the kitchen's up to code,
Standards, yeah.
which if we didn't have a program in there, then it doesn't. Like right now, if we move the senior program, then we have no heating facility. They have to have something to keep the meals warm. They do at the church.
Well, no, when they bring it to the church, they're already prepared and everything.
I think they roll them in carts and stuff.
Yeah.
No,
bring
I'm
it.
actually a deliverer. Now it's actually different. Now nothing's heated.
They used to bring me in warm.
Right.
Yeah, they come in prepared, they're
No,
done.
well, now they're actually sealed. It's like a airplane meal, for Christ's sake. Nothing's heated now, but I don't think the standards have changed, because right now, this is what they're doing. They're sending it in. It's basically coming from a food company.
Prepared from a different site, so they don't need the commercial grade kitchens and
Right.
all the.
But that may change, and they have not changed our end of the fact that you have to have this if you're gonna be a facility that deals with meals. Now, we can say, you're not heating, you don't need to heat them anymore, but you do. Because what's happening is now they're not coming in heated. They're coming in basically, you're microwaving, they're microwavable dinners. So if you have a nice microwave, you might be set. But,
But wasn't the idea with the senior center, to have all senior functions at the senior center, where it includes meals?
I have no
Because
problem
right
with
now,
that.
the $7,000 is going, I guess, to the church
From
from the town.
right.
Okay, and if you have a senior building, why wouldn't it go to support the senior building?
That's $7,000 we should be looking to transfer over anyway.
Absolutely. You have $15,000 going to senior programs from the town. $2,000 for the senior center,
Which we need to get.
$7,000 for contribution and nutrition, and $6,000 for other expenses, which I'm assuming are the trips.
Well, that's the other thing Fran is gonna, because that's the thing. this is where we as a village, and we need to work with the town to actually establish a senior program. There is no senior program established. As of right now, money is given to, it's similar to Vision. There's no group that's taking on a lot of the projects.
Well, there
Vision
used
takes
to
on.
be, until they all got chased away.
Right. So they got the money from the town. Same thing with the Highlanders. The Highlanders are getting the money to do all that. Whereas what we really want is Fran to get the money and the new senior committee to get the money, that other $6,000. So that, because she's gonna be the one that's really helping to coordinate activities, and that's the position. That's what we have to figure out too, a stipend for a position, for somebody to be responsible. Now, not necessarily, she may not be the person watching the door, but she has coordinated a list of seniors that are gonna be, on Monday, Jack is the responsible party for the senior. On this day, on this day, on this day, on this day. Fran is gonna be responsible, or whoever we pick, but that's the other thing. Now, we already had a break, we had an insurance claim, the whole nine, because we weren't prepared to take on a new building. Now, we're a lot better, but we have to have somebody that's gonna be responsible for that. And it can't be just the cops opening it up, leaving it open and walking away, leaving the building empty, and so kids can come in if it's a day off of school and wreck it. You know, there has to be somebody in the building when it's
Well,
open.
yeah, senior volunteers.
Right, but I truly believe that we have to have somebody that's a stipend person that's not only gonna coordinate that, but like a Fran Galoo, she's already discussing how she's gonna bring in money. That's who you need. You need someone who's, one of their first things is, how are we gonna bring in more money to the senior program? Not just coming to us and asking for it. Where is she gonna go? I'm gonna go to these people, these people, these people, these people. That's what's gotta happen. We've gotta have someone like that. She will, it's similar to what just happened with the bonds. We cannot spend the extra money and know we're gonna get $3,000, maybe, if we're lucky. Or we can spend a little extra money and end up with 18,000 on the plus side. If we spend the money, know that we're gonna have a good program, know we're not paying extra when something breaks because it's not being monitored. And on top of that, she's bringing in money to more than cover her stipend. I guarantee you Fran Galoo will bring in more money than whatever stipend.
She'll work it pretty good.
Well, what are you suggesting then? What do you want to do?
I'm suggesting that we go to the town and for this year, see if we can't,
Well, you have $2,000 for senior center from the
Right.
town. What's that earmarked for?
I have no idea. I think that should be earmarked for building, like cable, oil. Let's tell them that's what we need.
But
it
you're
for.
paying that. Why don't you consider earmarking that?
What do you mean we're paying?
You're paying for the oil through your
Yeah,
senior
I
citizens.
don't want to.
But that's the maintenance, operating maintenance costs. That's part of the, that's
We're
what
gonna
you're
pay
doing.
that till we work something out.
Yeah.
We just did, we got
easier to-
$2,000. But now there's another
Pat,
six.
you'd be better off asking the town to support the 2,000 with the stipend that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so too, at least initially.
Because believe me, your expenses for the senior center are more than $2,000. $2,000 is maybe 3 months, 4 months.
I was gonna ask for more.
Well,
Why you guys lowballing
Well,
me?
their budget is.
We'll end
no,
up
no,
with
but
it.
you can start there and then let it grow, monitor it and see where it goes. It's, I would almost, consider looking at it like you do the historian.
Or we cover the facility.
Front end, get it, seed it, and then the town picks it up.
But we have to front end seed it, because this year it's done. So, but we have to have an agreement,
We don't
and
have
I'm gonna do this in writing,
Yeah.
because obviously our discussion didn't hold water
Well, you
with the
could,
historian.
ask the town, what the 2,000 is earmarked for based on that. Are they just going to contribute directly to the senior fund? Are they going to pay for a certain set of bills? At least they have something here.
Right. Well, Fran's planning on going to the town board meeting and ask for money. So I wanna coordinate with her, and actually maybe we need to come up with a stipend now, so that she can go to them. Let's not talk about the two right off the bat. Let's talk about the stipend, and if they say, well, we already funded two, well, the two can be part of it. But what is a fair stipend to run this, is the question.
Well, I think we need to see what transpires here before we start actually committing to additional funds. Whether the town is gonna take it over, maybe they say, okay, we'll manage, you know, I'm sure that this is still in flux, sort of. I don't know. I don't know.
You gotta remember too, the town, that, you know, the village put $53,000 away. That's probably 3 years, 4 years of town budget
Right.
allocating. So you've really done the front end. It's really up to the town now to pick up the ball.
And we got
And
100
I agree.
But you know how that you know how that happens, that the seniors are very proactive, just like they were with the village. Very proactive, that now it's the town's turn.
Well,
to pick
here's,
up the
here's,
slack.
maybe we can help, Fran and everybody, if they have the same proactive group show up with Fran at a town meeting.
Yes.
And say, what do you have for us? We got a building, we got this, we got that, we don't have a budget, help us.
That's right.
I know, we caved into the pressure.
All the repairs done on the building, finished?
What's that?
All the repairs, are they finished?
The insurance hasn't been done, did Servpro do that, Gina?
Some we're waiting the floors. The
Yes,
biggest.
the floor hasn't been done yet.
Should be done around the end of the month, beginning of next month.
So, don't we first have to figure out how much the expense is gonna be a month and?
Yeah, but what do we do for this first year? It can't be unmanned.
Well,
True.
we have 20 grand in here to keep things up and running. I mean, the programs to be established and how we go from here and who funds what is, we're gonna have to sit down and talk with them because we're just speculating at this point. We have no idea who's gonna do what, when, where, and what we're gonna pay them.
Yeah, you spent almost 25,000 of the 53 for the senior center. And so you have 30,000 left.
As far as budgeting, I'd like to go with 20 and bring it down to 15 if the cap doesn't allow us to do 20.
Okay.
All right? Does that sound right?
But what are we doing with the money that's still there? Are we going to use it before the end of the year?
I wouldn't put it forward too quickly unless the town totally turns everything down. We do have to utilize that money for someone from now to June to be in charge of a program.
Okay.
I wouldn't put anything
Okay,
into
so
programming.
that'll cover the stipend.
Right, we're not, in my opinion, we're not putting anything into programming. Zero. We've got to put it into building and the structural integrity of the building as far as who's running it, bills, all that. We talked about the fact that if we put too much money in, no one's gonna raise any money. So what's gotta happen is Fran's gotta bring up, well, these are 20 possibilities the seniors can do, programs. It's gonna cost $30,000.
You're gonna bring that to the town though.
And yeah, well, the town and also fundraising for them.
Yeah.
If you wanna do this, we've gotta get a fundraising, and a real fundraising program. When people pass, they need to give their houses to the senior center. These kind of things.
Well, look, if there's true cooperation, the town would be working on getting the meals there and getting the trips working out of there and truly utilizing that building. You know, it's good to have charity for the local churches and so on, and that's great, but if you already have a senior center, that takes priority. You know, it just has to. So, I really think that the town probably needs to be asked about this and maybe.
That's our next conversation. I
Yeah.
think the best we can do is budget what we had, just in case nothing happens, we can still maintain and operate a building,
Yeah.
and then we'll go on from there when we sort of solidify some sort of direction.
Absolutely, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So 20,000 for right now?
20, and then we'd bring it to 15 if the cap didn't allow.
Okay, all right. We covered planning already. Storm sewers, that's done. City administration, nothing. Benefits, I'm slowly populating the benefits. Right now, you're looking at workers' comp, gone up a little bit. Health insurance is up about 6%-ish in that range. Unemployment, right now, we haven't had anybody. We probably will just stay with a conservative number. I don't believe any of that money's been used. No, we did use a little bit.
Crossing guard.
Crossing
Crossing
guard?
guard, that's right, yeah.
Oh.
Got us.
All right, so crossing guard cost us 1,000, so we actually budgeted, I guess, okay for that. So we'll leave that at 1,500.
He got 1,000 because he wasn't working during the summer?
You have to pay, your unemployment rates go up when somebody files a claim.
Can't we keep him working?
Doing what?
At
Flagging for DPW?
least get $1,000 out of it.
Yeah, but the problem is they probably paid him $5,000 for that point in time and whatever, you know, or I don't know.
Jeez.
Or maybe, I don't know what he got.
So, 1,500 for that? Leave it at 1,500?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we're gonna have any layoffs, are we?
I haven't heard any discussion about
Okay,
it.
leave it at 1,500.
We're already down enough.
Okay, I'll plug in the state and police and fire retirement as we move along. Bonds and everything the serial bonds are gonna be straight off the amortization schedule, along with the web lane. Bond anticipation notes, I'm going to have a conversation with Noah Nadelson about the feasibility of only paying the street reconstruction amount. Now, based on how our money situation is, we might have to fund that out of fund balance, meaning that we're making a conscious decision to pay that bond off so we don't have to put it into a serial note next year. But we'll hit into our fund balance for the short term to pay it.
Right.
But they'll save in a lot of costs and
If this plan fails coming from fund balance, can we,
you
what
have
we
to
say,
cut in other areas to
Okay.
get to pay for it.
okay,
Because last year, I believe we set aside about 130,000 for band debt.
right.
And here we're looking to probably put out about double that.
But I mean, if we pay, do we have the ability to go short on next year's and roll whatever we don't pay off on this?
Yeah, the sewer and water bans, we have a lot more ability to, because they're not as constrained with the 5-year rules than the general municipal debt. So we could really, I think they're 20-year payout periods, so we could keep those bans for 20 years and not have to turn them into serial bonds if we chose. Now, that's an advantage with low rates. If the rates start to
That's what I'm
creep
saying,
up, then.
because you hear what the rate was, right, that we got?
Yeah.
I mean, if in fact we can't draw from general fund and pay off this balance, what is it, 250?
About, yeah.
If we put it on like a ban for a year, would that, what would that hurt?
To put what on a band for
Just
you?
the balance of the 250.
We can't, because the rules of that money is they've already been banned for 4 years.
Okay.
So now statutorily, I believe by law, we have to turn it into long-term financing.
Okay.
We only have 5 years.
Okay,
Doesn't apply to the water and sewer, but it applies to general municipal debt.
all right. So that's not an option.
I don't believe so.
All right.
When are we gonna know if we can pay it off?
Once we plug in all of our payroll costs and retirement costs and so on, we'll see where we are to the cap. As soon as I get more of the numbers in here, then I'll start to plug into the cap. But I estimate that our cap factor is almost the same as last year. So we're looking at, I believe it was, we had around a $200,000 increase
Okay.
for a total A fund. Remember, cap doesn't apply to the F and G.
Okay. This debt that we're talking about, the 250, what is it, what department was that from? Was that from?
That was your municipal debt that had to do with the road reconstruction.
Okay,
I think around Merns, drains.
Oh, part of Mern still needs to be done, but yeah.
That was a 3-year plan that they had done,
Yeah.
different areas, Bob.
yeah,
And that was stuff that was
Middle of the.
4 years ago.
You know, they did some in Roe Park area, Hickory,
right.
and then they did the Merns, and there was 3 areas that the village
Okay.
did bonds, took out EANs for.
Well, I guess if we can't comply with the cap, we'll have to go to Plan B, huh?
Yeah, because we were at 337, and we paid 50 plus the interest, so we're maybe like 280. 280 is what we probably,
That's what we owe?
280 for the street reconstruction,
Okay.
that's what remains. It was an original $500,000 borrowing. We paid 112,000 twice, if it was 120, I have to get its schedule, I don't have it.
That's right,
right now.
I'm just,
But that's going to, I'll have that number, and then we'll have to plug in, once we plug everything else in, we'll have a better idea of what room we have.
okay.
Now, remember, with our revenue sources, if we have our fund balance, let's say our fund balance is sitting at around 600,000, we technically could apply additional fund balance to make up that cost, but then our savings account gets smaller. But we, in turn, avoid turning this into a serial bond.
Right, but, and then, if we were short on our fund balance after we paid off this,
Well, you're not really short on your fund balance unless it goes to zero.
well, you're kind of squeezed on it.
But you do curtail the amount that's in fund balance.
Yeah.
But remember, your fund balance is having to backstop a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's what I mean, I don't like the idea of depleting half my fund balance before the year starts, you know?
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I'm not telling you which way to go. I'm just saying that if we have to turn it into serial bond, you could look at the other one, you could say, okay, you know what, we gotta deal with it, we're gonna have to turn it into a serial note. We'll pay 10,000 on it, and we'll bond for 250,000, and that'll be long-term debt, and you'll just pay the costs of offering that out. It's just that it's, serial bonds are expensive.
Well, I mean, if we paid it off out of the general fund, can we still borrow for the general fund to, if
You'd
we
have
had to, on the
yeah.
rates we get like on short-term debt now?
If you assign it to a project that you're doing, if you
Yeah.
can borrow, as long as
You
you're.
gotta have
Because you gotta remember, the people that are looking to lend the money, they wanna know that
They want
it's,
some sort of
it's
collateral.
not, it's not like
And
you're,
that's why I don't mind spending it, because if we don't have a specific project in mind, even this year, if we did it because we're gonna save money on it, to pay it off, and we ended up with a fire truck, which, buying a fire truck is not something you really wanna do, and that's why I wanna plan for it, we're gonna end up having to do it sooner or later. But if we had to do that, if we had to do a couple other things, put it together like they did back in the day, that wouldn't bother me as much if we were saving the money on paying off the bond.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we keep it tight, if we have to. We borrow, we do what we have to, but we do it with something specific in mind.
Well, I just wanna take advantage of money being so cheap at this point in time, if we gotta have a borrowing. It almost seems, now's the time to.
Well, I mean, we can, we have, we haven't even talked to fire and police yet. Just off of DPW, I mean, we can borrow $150,000 on the equipment coming from some of our departments. And say it's for the saw and this car and this and this and this, if we wanted to. But again, we're going into cost of the bond and the whole nine.
well, plus also, it's just a bad way to do it, because you don't wanna borrow for that kind of stuff. That's what's been going on, that's what the
I
village
realize
has
that,
to
but I'm saying
get.
with
Yes.
but with the, it may be the only way.
Well, no, you might be forced into that scenario.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, for instance, why don't we finish Mearns Avenue? Mearns ended abruptly and the rest of the street is disintegrating.
well, there's two parts to Mearns at this point, on the south end in particular. The piece that was never done, along with Berry Hill, but the other piece is that on the south end of Mearns, they're all getting flooded out, because above on 9W, the drainage has
Okay.
worn away, and the state has never dealt with it. So I talked to Scoofus about, if you wanna get into a good fight, DOT is always a good group.
Yeah.
Help us out, get us the 200 and some odd thousand that's left out of money we're supposed to have for this project anyway. You know that there's a couple $100,000
There was some money on
sitting
the table, yeah.
FEMA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
for Mearns.
No?
No, not FEMA. This was somebody out in 2006 from Kelly, I believe.
Yeah, there was money on the table.
Representative Kelly, it's been sitting there. And we actually did part of Mearns Avenue 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and because they couldn't wait. They're like, we got this in '06, let's do that. And DOT's been holding us up forever. And then they had the audacity, after Todd went to the mat and was like, look, we gotta have the money, and went. Now Todd's across the sea.
No,
No, when Todd was over there, They're like, well, your engineer never got back to us, and I'm like, look, we're in the room, I was in the room when he called you. Don't tell me our engineer never got back to you. And we know Todd, Todd doesn't play that game. And I know now Al's been on them several times, and Al's like, at first he was like, oh no, I'll get the money, don't worry, DOT, I got him. Now he looks like he's been through 15 rounds. All right, Burns Avenue, let's talk. And I'm just like, it's disgusting, is what it is. And you need a Larkin or a Scoofus to get them straight. I mean, at least we got phone calls when we called them, but that might be the only way we're getting our money. We can't do Murns without that money.
Well, engineers aren't doing it, so
No.
we know that. They just don't get any, I'm not saying they don't try, it's just that it's
They don't have the clout.
fears, yeah.
Well, here's, if your serial bond, here's your interest rates. Started off at 2%.
This year, Murns.
All right, it goes to 3% this year. It goes back to 2% in 2017. In 2020, it goes to 2.25, then 2.375, then 2.5, then it goes to 4% in 2023. So the way this is structured is that it's kind of, there's a lot of variability in the interest rate, but you're not, you're looking at 0.48% money now, turning into a serial bond, you're now looking at 2-3% money. Okay, so the cost of borrowing, goes up. So that's why a lot of times when you take on these bands right now, you need to ensure that you're gonna pay them off in 5 years. And again, that's strictly for your municipal debt, not necessarily your special districts. Special districts, you have more leeway. Why? That's just the way it's been structured. So, those are the thoughts,
Right.
we have to consider, okay? All right, and we talked about the interfund transfers, and those are zeros because those were essentially your pseudo reserve funds. Now you actually have real reserve funds. Okay, so that's that. Next will be fire department. I believe by next Wednesday, I should be able to have a lot more of the data in so that we're gonna be ready to get the payroll discussion going and how we're gonna populate payroll. Okay, I hope to have all the serial bond stuff in there, all of the retirement costs, and all of the adjustments that we made today. Okay?
Are they mine?
I think so.
Yeah, you got a packet. Well, you could tell, is there anything written here? Yeah, these are the new ones. Do you have your top?
Yes, I do.
Do you have these numbers down here? Just make sure.
What is it?
Yeah, you got it, okay, yeah, you guys have the same one. Okay, so good progress today, I would say. I think it's a good idea.
Oh, Zach,
Yep. Give it to me.
I got it.
second.
Turn off the camera. And we gotta come out for 2 seconds. I need to make a motion to